This is a 160 Q&A practice test. Plaintiff attorney Mr. West, capital W-E-S-T. Defense attorney Ms. M.S. period Morris, capital M-O-R-R-I-S. And we'll start with defense. Ready? Did you have an understanding of what the cargo was on top of those pallets? I don't recall, to tell you the truth. Did you assume that they were hoses like in other cases? There again, I don't recall. That's why, just short of asking the guy, hey, think we can handle them both, and he basically saying, yeah, guess so. So yeah, I mean, it was no real clear question, you might say. Before you started to do this lift, were you handed any kind of manifest or paperwork saying what was on the truck and what you were supposed to get? I don't recall. They usually have some paperwork, but a lot of times I get it afterwards. Sometimes I get it, you know, they hand it to you when they first get there. So do you know if that, so you've seen a manifest before, or invoice or purchase order, before you've taken a load off a truck. Is that fair? Before? Yes. Have you ever received one before you did? Yes. A pick. Okay. Do you know, or do you recall those manifests or invoices ever stating what the weight of the load is? Yes. Okay, is that typical that it has the weight on the load on it? May call for speculation. I believe so. Had you ever met Mr. Barton, the plaintiff in this case, before? Not that I know of, no. Have you seen him since? Nope. Who is your supervisor at Colton? Supervisor? Yeah. The manager of the store is Ryan Sanders. Is that a male? Yes. And was he your supervisor at the time? He was the manager on the property. Yes. And is he still the manager? Yes. Okay, now did the load start to, we know it was a little unsteady when you were beginning to lower it, right? Lower the load? Yes. Okay, did it fall or begin to fall? Strike that. Did it begin to fall when you sped up your lowering? Misstates his prior testimony. No, it started before that, or as soon as I started to lower it, which I always lower something like that very slowly, but as I started down, I hadn't dropped far. I seen it was starting to tip, so I wanted to get down as quick as possible. Then I lowered it. Okay, so it started to fall before you sped up your lowering. Is that correct? Correct. And when you saw it starting to fall, did you say anything to Mr. Barton, like it's going to fall, or watch out, or anything like that? No. Did he say anything to you? No. And I just want to clarify something. You said that when you were putting the forks in, I may have this wrong, the two forks were 8 inches apart. Is that correct? That's estimating. They were just narrow enough to go under. They touched both sides, just narrow enough to go in and pick these up. Okay, let me, just to clarify something, can I see the number 2, please? Exhibit 2. Okay, well that one doesn't help me. You wanted of the pallets? Yeah, I wanted to see the actual pallets. That's number 1. That's the best we got. Okay, now looking at exhibit 1, the pallets, say on the right one, at the top portion of the pallet, is that where you're sticking the forks in? Yes, underneath there. Okay, so when you're sticking the forks in, you're doing it as wide as is necessary or narrow as necessary to fit it in, but no further. Correct. So the forks would necessarily be touching the sides of each of the pallet. Yes. Slot. I'll call it a pallet slot. Yes. Okay, now did you say that these are typical size pallets, or are they smaller pallets? These pallets? Correct. They're quite small. And had you used a forklift to remove these small pallets of this size before? Yes. Okay, and what kind of? Had you ever picked up anything with this small of a pallet with that height of cargo on it? I've picked these up. These same ones? Yes. Okay, but not off of a truck at that time. Just moving them around in the yard? Yeah, or putting them in the warehouse. Okay, had you ever had experience with those pallets, those size pallets with this type of cargo on them toppling? No. Or being unsteady? Okay. Had you ever lifted two at the same time with this type of cargo on this size pallet? Yes, I have. Just to clarify, when you put the forks in, you don't do any kind of wrapping? No. Or anything to connect it, right? No. When you started working at Colton, did you receive an injury, illness, and prevention program where you had to review something on safety procedures and hazards of the job? No. Okay, did you ever receive any types of written rules regarding safety on the job site, doing any task from Colton when you were either hired or later? I believe we did, but I don't recall. I don't remember just exactly what they were, but this would have been after that. After this incident? Yes. Okay, so is it fair to say you did not receive any safety training from Colton before the incident? Misstates his prior testimony. We had safety meetings, discussions. Okay, on and off, you know, they tried to do it like every month or so, some kind of safety meeting. Were those mandatory? I'm going to say they were. They were all always included. It's a small company of, hey, everybody, gather up, and we'd have a little safety meeting and discuss different things or any problems we might have or anything that was going on. Were those scheduled meetings, or was it, hey, we have some time here, let's do a safety meeting? I don't believe they were scheduled, other than the fact, like when I was there, because I'm not there every day. Did any of those safety meetings that you attended ever discuss cautions regarding weight in removing cargo with a forklift from a truck? I knew some of them. I can recall that some were operating the forklift, distance of people, you know, to stay back, away from the load or the operating of the forklift. While you're operating it, you know, ask people to stand back. As far as weight, anything specific like that, I don't recall. When you attended these safety meetings, were you given any handouts? All right, the word list. Mr. Barton, capital B-A-R-T-O-N. Colton, capital C-O-L-T-O-N. Ryan Sanders, capital R-Y-A-N, new word, capital S-A-N-D-E-R-S. Right, that is all for the word list, and that will conclude our 160 Q&A practice test.